Hi, I'm Greg from Algebra and Words, and this is another episode of my collection series. As you might know, March 19th is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Day, so I figured it would be a good time for me to get out my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection and show you some of my old figures and a couple other weird little memorabilia. So first, let me start with this piece right here. And this is a turtle van. My friend gave me this for a birthday present a couple years ago. And this wasn't used with the action figures, but what it is, when you take the top off, is it's actually the complete set of all of the animated series. I have not gotten through them all yet, still working on that, but I used to watch that a lot as a kid. And this is a pretty accurate rendition of the turtle van, although it doesn't open up and show all of their gadgets. But there's that. And it also comes with a booklet that shows you all the episodes. So for example, season 4, see all those episodes. Next, before I get to the figures, is a cool little collectible, which is just a plain plastic cup with the Ninja Turtles cartoon characters from the 90s cartoon series. And I believe I had this at my grandparents' house, and whenever I was over there, I would use this cup. But I have it now, and it's a nice collectible. Then here's a weird piece, and this is of Michelangelo. And when you press the sides, it says Cowabunga, or when you press the other side, he gives the thumbs up. I don't know exactly where I got this, but something tells me it's from like a McDonald's Happy Meal type of thing. And that being said, I don't know exactly what it is. I think it was called a belt buckle, but it's got this weird thing on the back. You can't do anything with it, just maybe hold it. And I don't know how it could attach to a belt buckle, but regardless, it's just a little trinket that I think came with like a Happy Meal. And finally, before I get to the figures, then I also have this, which is nothing more than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the movie, like a bumper sticker. I have no idea where I got this. I know that back in the day, I had both of the puzzles for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies 1 and 2. And I also had the Vanilla Ice music video VHS, which I got for my birthday. I don't have that here. I don't know if I still have it. I have to check for that. But now let's look at my action figures. So first, let's start with what I know to be, I think, the closest to the original ones, which is this. This is one of the originals, not the exact original, because the originals had a squishy head, but this has the hard head. And this is of Donatello. And I had one of each of all the main turtles. This was my Donatello. One of the originals. And then for my Michelangelo, I had this one. Not one of the originals, but one of the later renditions, one of the later series. And this one, if I recall correctly, was called Head-Poppin Michelangelo. From the Head-Poppin series, you could press the head in, and when you press in the legs, the head pops out, still works, and you know, you could use it to fight the villains. This one came with a pizza box like weapon that fit on his head. It fit the groove perfectly, and so then when you press the button, it shoots the pizza box at the villain. So that was my Michelangelo. It also had these yellow nunchucks, which also had these weird non-working suction cup ends, but I sawed them off. I still have them, but I cut them off because they were kind of stupid. I only needed regular nunchucks. He also came with a periscope, and there's the weapon for that. There was even a little sticker on the inside. which actually, if you look close, is, I believe, Rocksteady. So that's my Michelangelo. And then I had, for my Raphael and Leonardo, I had the movie Turtles. And these were really good figures because, first of all, they looked really accurate to the movie figures. And secondly, although there were not many points of articulation, they were kind of rubbery, so they just seemed more turtle-ish, and, you know, they were really good in battle and, like, fight scenes when you were playing with them. So these were really great, still in almost perfect condition. Obviously out of the box. Obviously I played with them. I didn't get them as a collector as a kid. But even the fact that I played with them, they're in good shape. This is Raphael. And this is my Leonardo. I believe these were kind of made after the second movie. Don't quote me on that. But regardless, these were really good figures. So then let's look at this one. This is my Casey Jones. And this one was from the cartoon series, not the movie series. And Casey Jones came with a bunch of weapons. He came with his golf bag. And he came with some things like, I think this was the bat and 2 bats and the golf club. And I think that's all he came with. Unless he came with a cricket bat, but I don't see that. But I think that's all he came with. So there you go, Casey Jones. Apparently there was a figure where his head came off and the mask came off, but I don't have that one. Alright, and then let's look at this one. This one is Krang from the cartoon series. And the arms attach and detach and move. And this one, the right hand is holding like a phaser gun of some sort. The top came off and you could take Krang out. And I believe there was even a body, but I didn't have the body. But there's the little Krang. He was just a brain. And in this hand, you could attach. It's not a turtle comm, but it's his little communicator. And it was kind of like a smartphone back then. And it worked like that, so he could talk to Shredder and it would show up right on the screen. That was his weapon. And since we're talking about the villains, I never had the original Shredder. And actually, I didn't want the original Shredder. I thought it was kind of goofy looking. But when they came out with this one, I got this one because this one was better. This one is called Slice and Dice Shredder. They came out with a Slice and Dice, like an action series, where if you turned the little button and attached his blades, the blades would slice and dice, and I thought that was really awesome. These were really hard to find, so whenever my friend or I would be at Kmart or one of the department stores and we would see them, what we would do is we would take one, because there was usually not many, and hide them behind the diapers, so that when the other one went to the store, there was one left, so it didn't get snagged. And this was how I got this one. My friend put this in the very bottom shelf behind the diapers. So when I went to buy it, it was there, and I grabbed it, and it's been great. Some of his weapons for Slice and Dice Shredder were this bladed sickle and also this bladed knife. So it was like the normal Shredder, but with, you know, extra weapons, extra blades and serration on the weapons and the swords. And then this is interesting to show, because if you bought the Ninja Turtles back in the day, you know what these are. And what would happen is the figures like this Donatello would come with these, and what would happen is certain weapons like these were attached to these. it never made sense to me because the turtles never used these weapons in the cartoons or ever anywhere. But they would all come with these. They're kind of like a weird hand blade or like a triangle. And also would come with something like this. Usually another part stuck out here, but I cut that off so it looked more like a sickle, I guess. And these were kind of stupid weapons that would come with these. I guess this was supposed to be like a weapons holder, but the weapons, you could never hang them on it. They'd all fall off. But they were good for throwing villains into it, I guess. So it was a good prop. Then how about this one? I don't know where I got this because I don't have the figure with it. I probably traded for it with a friend at some point. But this was a sewer surfboard. I believe that these had a different name than a sewer surfboard. If anybody remembers that, could you tell me in the comments below? Because I tried to Google it and I couldn't find it. I know their surfboards, they had a unique name for them. But, so this was one of their surfboards. And then, how about this one? If you could see this, this is a little mini Splinter. This was the only Splinter I had. I didn't like the other Splinter for some reason. But I did have this, and if you're wondering where this Splinter came from with the canister, it came with the canister of real green ooze. And I had that. I don't anymore. It probably got old. But I had that, and it came with this little Splinter right inside. So this was good for when you were trying to reenact when they mutated. And it also came with a really nice little canister of ooze, which is gray, but we knew what it stood for. And then there was this villain. This villain is Slash. And it's obviously kind of like a bizarro sort of warped version of a turtle. And this was one of their villains. And he also came with weapons, and why he came with pink colored weapons, why they gave them these certain colors, I don't know. But some of his weapons were these. Actually, he came with 4 weapons, I believe. He came with, if I'm not mistaken, he came with this pink mace. He came with these extra bladed nunchucks. He came with this little sword, or kind of like a knife, and this crooked sai. So while we're looking at Slash, let's look at this next one, which is, you might remember, Toka from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, Part 2. This was Toka. And he only showed up in the movies, not in the animated series that I remember, unless he was in later ones that I didn't see. But the interesting about these characters is you could tell that they were probably much used from the same mold. They look the same in the back. The belts are basically the same except for the symbol in the front. And if you look at Toka's weapons, they're the same weapons. They're the same weapons as Slash, except in black color. So the mace and this knife and the crooked sai and the extra gnarled nunchucks. So there's Toka. So if you had Toka, you had to have Razor too. That's Razor, and these were kind of the villains together in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie Part 2. Razor was a great figure. Look how well made that figure is. Still in good shape. Has the metal chest plate, and his weapons were, definitely did not use these in the movie, but his weapons were the green Rest in Peace shield and this weird sort of cane, and the mouth of the skull at the top actually moved. Didn't really serve much of a purpose, but you know, that's cool. Those were his weapons. And then getting back to the, oh, well, since we're talking about the movie, then let's look at this one. This is a great figure. If you remember him, Super Shredder from the second movie. And this is when, in the first movie, you thought he was killed in the trash compactor, but you came to find out he lived and came back bigger and badder than ever. So that's Super Shredder. Look at all those crazy blades on his shoulders. He carved extra blades into his helmet. And this figure also came with some pretty cool weapons. The only one I can find right now is this crazy, I don't even know what you would call this. Just a mace with extra blades and spikes. Super Shredder. Great figure. Alright, and now let's look at some other villains, but back to the animated series. So how about these guys? This was Usagi Yojimbo and Panda Khan. Both were samurais. And Usagi Yojimbo, being the samurai that he was, came with probably these knives. I think these were his. Definitely this one was. I don't know if this one was. So if I mix them up, sorry about that. But he came with a few swords. And this guy came with, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he came with this battle axe. And someone came with this. This here, I don't remember what this came with. Something tells me this came with one of the movie turtles, but I don't know. Nobody really used this in the movie. Sometimes they just came with weird weapons. Alright, so let's look at this character. This one looks like a rat who is a coal miner, and his name is Dirtbag. I had to Google that because I forgot that. But he's got the little light on the head. It doesn't work. He's got the tail. And the great thing about this figure was sometimes the figures were hard to stand up, but because of his tail, he was really easy to stand up and wouldn't fall over. So that's Dirtbag. And if you want to see his weapons, he came with some interesting ones. He came with this four-sided pick, as well as this weird gun, probably like for drilling. And he did hold it. And he also came with this backpack, which would actually fit on his back. You couldn't take the shovel out. However, you could take, I have it on upside down, but you could take the knife out. Came with a little knife. And here's a close-up of his backpack. Dirtbag. What a name. And then, in the later series of figures, they got creative. I don't even know if half of these people were in the animated series at this point. This guy is known as Sergeant Bananas. And he's like a gorilla. It even says gorilla right there on his pocket. But this guy was an interesting one. He was a very heavy figure. Definitely a different build of the other characters because he's so big and heavy. But again, another great thing about him was very easy to stand because he had real sturdy legs. So he never fell over. And then he came with this little blue monkey that sits on his head. I don't remember what his name is, but he was a little interesting character that could get into trouble. His tail moved. Give you a close-up of him because he's a funny character. And Sergeant Banana's weapons included this sort of green utility belt equipped with bananas. And I guess the utility belt is supposed to be like a snake, which did fit. And they also came with this interesting lizard gun. If you look at the tip, it's actually bananas. So I guess he would shoot bananas. But a pretty sturdy gun. And then before I get to my final four, let's look at this one. And this was also probably from a later series when they were kind of running out of ideas and trying to stretch it. But this one was a sports figure Donatello. I don't know if this one was mine originally. I think I might have traded with somebody. Obviously, he's missing his arm. But strangely, I also seem to have the ball that came with it. And if you see the little hole on the back, you'd put that in the one hand, and then he could shoot it, or I guess throw it at a villain. So there's that sports figure. And then there was a series of figures that would kind of be in disguise. I don't know the official name of them, disguise turtles or something, but I had all four of the turtles series of that. So let me show the first one, which was an incognito Donatello. Came with a little briefcase, and if you listen, there's real things in it. I think they're little ninja stars. Let's take a look. Oh, looks like I just may have broken it. That's unfortunate, but that's alright. So if we open it up, let's see what we have in here. I bet you there's stars. Yeah, so it's actually, oh, there's some good stuff in here. I'll show you. There is a little sticker that says Top Secret, and I have all of my ninja stars in there. The silver ones probably from the movie, and the brown ones that came with these things. So the stars were actually good. But then also a little black piece of pizza that they could actually hold. And I guess use as a weapon. The turtles ate pizza, so that's the significance behind that. But obviously it doesn't look like real pizza because it's just a black weapon. So that is Incognito Donatello. He also came with this fake gun that said bang. And he also came with this mask that would fit over his head like this so that he could disguise himself as like a human. So that's Incognito Donatello. Then we have this Samurai Leonardo. And I remember I used to like to pair him up with Usagi Yojimbo and Panda Khan because they were all the samurai theme. And this Leonardo came with this shield, which looks like probably a turtle shell. Also, this sheath and sword. And this weird thing. It looks like it would hold a flag, but I really have no idea what purpose it served. I believe that came with him. Alright, and then we have Space Cadet Raphael. The cap actually came off. Of course, would the turtles ever actually go to space? Doubtful, but, you know, they were stretching it for this line. And he was also a good figure because he had really sturdy legs and he would stand up very well. And he came with this weird ray gun like, and you could attach it to a suit. And looks like a real space gun, something you would use on Mars, I guess, to search for stuff. Alright, and finally, the last figure is Sewer Surfing Michelangelo. And he always kind of had a California sort of surfer, cowabunga type of personality. So this kind of went off of that. He has a utility belt. It's got the M for Michelangelo there, if you could see. And he also had little holders in the back, which were for... Actually don't know what they were for. That I don't know. Probably for weapons of some sort, but I don't know what weapons. It could have been for this. And he also came with this surfboard. So he could sit on this, stand on this. And surf the sewers. It came with a detachable crab. As well as from the surfboard, there's a little spinner on the end, and that would come off too. So I'm guessing that little portion on the back of his belt where he could store this, kind of like a ninja star but bigger, if he wanted. So before I close the video, let me just show a couple more things. One of them is another turtle's shell shield. I don't remember which character this came with. Then there's also... This was actually a really cool weapon. I forgot to show this one, but this one is kind of like a grappling hook that came with Razor. He never uses a grappling hook because he's kind of a dumb, clumsy animal. That's not really his thing, but nevertheless, it came with him. And finally, I forgot to show this, but with Slice and Dice Shredder, Slice and Dice Shredder came with this. A little National Turtle quiz book. And for example, you open it up and it would tell some jokes. So if you want to check those out, there you go. They had many things back then. So anyway, that concludes my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection. I wish I had more, but this served me pretty well. I like these figures, and you have to admit they held up pretty well. So anyway, thanks for watching my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection for my collection series. If you like this video, please like, share, and I would love to hear your feedback in the comment section. So happy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Day on March 19th, and I'll see you in my next video of collections or algebra.